Hello, this is Fading Cruz, and welcome to my first tutorial in GameMaker. This tutorial is mainly about the interface of GameMaker and how to use it. If you don't have GameMaker, that's fine. There's a link in my description that you can download it from. If you do have GameMaker, however you selected Simple Mode during the setup process, please go to File and select Advanced Mode. Knowing your interface is a really good way to increase the efficiency of programming. It will allow you to access different variations of the program faster. First, I'm going to describe these icons, the quick keys up here. The first icon is creating a new game. It brings you to a fresh project like this, and it clears any data in your previous project. This opens an existing game that you've already saved as a GameMaker file. If you have any unsaved data in your current project, when you select either one of these icons, it will prompt you to save your game so you don't have to worry about any data loss. The third icon will save your game as a GameMaker file to access the codes. The fourth one, however, saves your game as a standalone executable exe file. This is for distributing your game, allowing people to play your game but not have access to your codes or sprites, any of your resources. This fifth icon, the one with the world and the arrow pointing up, this icon is to publish your game to the Yo-Yo Games website. The green arrow icon is to run your game. The red arrow icon is to run your game in debug mode. This is for finding errors and just looking at variables in your game. It's suggested that you always run your game in debug mode, because if you do find an error, you can look up the variables that have to do with it and different functions to see what's wrong with your game, and it's good to get in the habit of running it in debug mode. These icons, these represent creating files of these folders. So these two match up. This first one is creating a sprite. Sprites are basically just images for your game. Normally each object is assigned one sprite, and that's how it's represented in your environment. The sprite editor in GameMaker is fantastic. Sometimes I use it just to create images, not even for games. The second icon is for creating sounds. You load sound files, you can test them and hear them, and you can add simple effects to them. You load this whenever you want in the code to play the sound. Adding sound to a game really makes it more fun for the user. Backgrounds are basically like wallpaper in your environment, just to give more appealing visuals. Paths are for awkward movements that would be really hard to program otherwise. However, they can be in any shape. They can be in straight lines or smooth curves. It really helps if you have a lot of objects that are going to be following the same path, however they have really awkward movement like this. This icon right here, it's like a little piece of paper with a green arrow pointing at it. This is to create scripts. Scripts are lines of code, of GML code, that can be accessed from any object. This is really helpful if you have a certain code that you want loaded into more than one object. This is basically for only efficiency purposes. You can also load scripts that other people have and save them to transfer data like that. Creating fonts. Fonts are for the draw event. You create a font, you set the font, and then all font drawn after that will be in the font that you've set it to until you set it to a new font. I'll get into more depth with all of these in other tutorials, but right now I just want to kind of describe very, very, very lightly on what everything is. Timelines, it's pretty much just a bunch of different actions that happen in set amount of time. It's pretty simple. Objects are your most important. This is where all your code is actually going to be occurring, is in objects. Objects are crucial to your game, and the less objects you have, the better. It's more efficient, the less objects. However, you may need a lot of objects to have a nice game. A room, creating a room is creating an environment. This is where you'll place all your objects in your game. This is where pretty much what the user sees and where everything happens at. this little information icon brings up your game's information. You can type out information, and when they press F1 it will bring up this file. The last one is, well, not the last one, the next one is global game settings. This is just to set different things like whether the cursor is displayed, if you set it start in full screen mode, the resolution, the icon of the game, the load bar, different things like that. This one is to add an extension. It's a little green cross plus sign, and there are tons of different extensions that you can get for GameMaker. This expands how much GameMaker can be used infinitely. Most people discredit GameMaker in saying that it's very, very restricting. That's not true at all. GameMaker, even without having extensions, can produce wonderful, wonderful games. It can also produce wonderful programs, just different applications. However, it is created for making games. The last one is the help file. You can also access this by pressing F1 when you're in the GameMaker interface. You can just read different things about GameMaker to learn more, and you can also search certain functions and get more in-depth knowledge about them there. And that is all the icons up here. Let me see if there's anything else. Importing and exporting resources, that's all your sprites, fonts, everything I just went over pretty much. All of these, that's resources. Your preferences just allow you to select different things. Normally I changed my colors, but I reset them for the sake of these tutorials. That way everyone is uniform and it's easy to read. Well, that's pretty much all you really need to know right now about the interface for beginners. There is still more, and you can see up here with these different things, but it's not that important right now. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want future tutorials.